Everybody, we're going live for Tuesday Talks, and today we have an amazing person called Joel. Just let us know who you are and what you do. And the biggest question that kicks off this conversation is, why do you do it?
Yeah, that's a great question, actually. My name is Joel Haasenritter. For those that don't know me, I am based in Phoenix, Arizona, in the U.S., and I am a certified ULA life coach. And really, all that means is that I wanted to learn these principles for my own life, so I could apply them to my life at the level that I can teach them. I like doing things like that just to go deeper and deeper in understanding, and not just not just the surface level, but I really like to go deep with it. And so in ULA, we have 7 key foundations, 7 key areas of life that we walk people through. We work on their blockers, work on accelerators, and really try to bring in the holistic picture of what life is really about and how to make that work well. So my area that I focus on really is transitions. There's a lot of people, especially right now, who are struggling through their own times of transition, whether it's work. There's so many people that have left the workplace, whether it's moving across the country like we did. We transitioned our life, and in many ways are still in the midst of a transition as well. And so I really wish I had these principles and knowledge back then, because it would have made a much easier transition. Let's put it that way. But that's what I love to focus on: people who are really struggling in a transition in their life, how to build balance back in their life so that they can live by design, not by default.
I love that, and thank you for sharing that story with us. And I love the closing there that you've just live by design and not by default, because everybody is living majority of their life by default, not by their own wrongdoing. It's just the way society pivots us from a very young age. Let's say you get sent to school, then you're out of school, and then you're taught a certain way to do and everything, and then this life kicks in, and you're like, yeah, this will happen next, this will happen next, and this is where everybody says, life gets in the way. That's because you're living at default, right?
That's right. Yeah, it's so easy. I mean, it's human nature to just look at the circumstances around us and be looking at that and kind of take that on as a burden. Sometimes, like in our case, my wife had some health issues, and so we had to, not by any fault of hers, we had to transition to something else and really try to do life differently. And it could be a job layoff. It could be a death in the family. It could be any of those things. Last year, I tore 2 tendons in my shoulder, and so that kind of threw things out as well. So I love to be active, and that really threw a wrench in how I was going about doing that. So it could be one of any number of reasons, but the point is, how are you deciding to move through that? And that's where these principles of ULA really help.
So this is quite interesting to know as well. I mean, I've never heard of ULA before, and when I was looking at your profile as well, I was like, "Wow, that's quite interesting." So that already grabbed my attention, to just know what ULA is. And when you hashtag it, there's quite a lot happening in ULA, and you've kind of explained, it's to do with the principles, and it all makes sense now to know those principles, and design your life. I do speak to everybody about in regards of having a blueprint of how would you like to live your life, at least. Even though the houses you are living on or in, they had a blueprint before they were built,
That's right.
to certain specifications. They weren't just default, okay, there's a house here we go, just plonked over there. No, they had a specification and they had a blueprint. It might have not gone 100% to that blueprint, but they had a blueprint that this is where the window's going to be, that's where the electrical units were going to be, and all that stuff, right, was there. And this is what we need to do for our life as well. Have a blueprint of, okay, these are my aspirations, these are my things that I would like to achieve whilst I'm going after my aspirations, and how I'm going to do it. You can put that down as well. Obviously, we can only do things as far as we know, and that's a good thing, because if you know everything, then basically means you don't know. For in my views, you don't know nothing because no, there is nobody out there that knows everything. We are forever evolving. We are forever learning. We are forever getting knocked back, and those are the challenges that are making us grow. And I'm sure you come across a lot of these scenarios, right?
Yeah, that's very true. And I would say that the more you know, the less that you know. it's it's this paradigm. But as you go through life, and the stumbling blocks that we all face, inward stumbling blocks, outward stumbling blocks. But the more that you dive deep, you realize that there are so many more layers, and another layer can get pushed back, but then you go through another season of life, and life has so many seasons. But as you go through another season in life, you realize that maybe the layer you pulled back wasn't even the right layer for that season. And so having a system and having a framework or a blueprint around that really, really helps. For those that don't know, just a history of how ULA started. ULA comes from the word ula la, and it's that happy feeling when your engine's firing on all cylinders, when things are working, when things are balanced. But so Dr. Troy and Dr. Troy was mentoring Dr. Dave, and they became very, very good friends. But Dr. Troy kind of worked on these principles, and when he was in 11th grade, decided that he would intentionally run his life and retire at the age of 40. And he failed. He was 42 when he retired, but that's after paying off over $500,000 worth of debt and really putting a system around how to move your life forward in all 7 key areas. So Dr. Troy is known affectionately as the ULA guru because he's the one that kind of masterminded so much of this. And Dr. Dave is the ULA seeker because he learned these principles and was really doing well. He had multiple businesses. He had chiropractic studios, massage studios, gyms, and so forth, real estate, the beautiful house, the nice cars, all the things. And as he put it, his head just got a little bit too big. And he stopped living by these principles that helped him to get to where he was. And in 2007, 2008, he lost it all. Literally, the house, the cars, his wife, the businesses, bankrupt, like all of it was gone. And, he has 5 kids. And so it was a major, major step back in his life. And so, he called Troy, who at the time was in one of his multiple, vacation type homes, and said, "You're never going to believe what's happened. You're never going to believe where my life is." And Troy said something that is so important that I really hope comes across to your audience well, and that is, where you are is just where you are. It's not who you are. And so many times we look at our circumstances around us in whatever season of life that we're in, and we tend to take on that identity of, oh, I guess I'm the bankrupt guy. I guess I'm the divorced guy. I guess, this and that. And no matter where you are, there is a path and there are steps that can be taken to transition your life into a new season and into a new era. And so Troy said, you know what to do, these principles. And Dave said, okay. He said, well, if this helps me to get my life back, then I'll make it my life mission to share these principles with the rest of the world. And over the next several years, he did exactly that. In 2013, they wrote their first bestseller. They have three books that they've written. ULA, Finding Balance in an Unbalanced World, ULA for Women, which is an amazing edition, and then ULA for Christians. And they're all 3 of them are bestseller books, but they tie in these principles of really how to move your life forward. And so over the next 10 years, from 2013 to 9 years or so, they've been on this mission of just sharing ULA with the world. And so that comes in the form of certified coaches, which is what I am. That comes in the form of symposiums, and it comes in the form of annual conferences. They have what's called an ULA Palooza, which is their big annual conference, and it's 2 days of just a deep dive into yourself. I take my coaching hat off, I take my father hat off, and it's just 2 days of deep work on yourself to plan out the next year. And so it's in December every year. And that's what they would do. They would get together every year and work on their goals, hold themselves accountable, and do it in a measurable way, in an accountable way, a realistic way. And that's what now has spread to over 1 million followers on social media. They have coaches in all 50 states in the U.S. and in, I think, 22 countries. We just launched a digital platform, which is a self-paced, do it at your own time, at your own pace digital platform that combines all of these principles with an app and so forth. That's now in over 47 countries. And so it's just this message of there is more, there is hope, and there's always a baby step you can take to move your life forward. And it's been an amazing journey with them.
Wow, it's very interesting to hear that story in terms of how ULA came about, and it comes from ULALA. I mean, I would have never thought of that. I was just confused. I thought it was already an acronym for something. So like OO, then LA. Yeah, there's an acronym for something, but obviously it's just simple ULALA. Uh,
Yep,
uh, so it's so great to know how simple the journey is. And what I've noticed also is the realization of when we hit, I would say, when we hit an obstacle or a challenge, that's when we realize that we've forgotten our ways of how we got to where we were. And there's also, a saying in there is to keep an eye on the ball, as they say, in terms of you need to remember where you started from and where you are. So I love when he mentioned, it's where you. I might be not quoting it wrong now. So it's where you are, but not who you are. So
that's
it's
right.
you are here. You are here now, but now you realize where you are, and your journey now begins again.
Yeah,
That's up to you which path you want to take. I love driving a lot, so I always compare it to driving. For example, if you've taken a wrong turn and you've hit traffic, well, that's where you are now. And what we can do is look at solutions. If there is a way to divert yourself, let's do that. It might now be a little bit longer, but we have diverted ourselves away from that traffic, and we will reach the destination we were hoping to get to, right?
that's absolutely true. Yeah, and we look at that in 7 key areas. So in ULU, there's a million different ways to dissect life and balance and so forth, but we look at 7 key areas, and that's fitness, finance, family, field, which is your career, faith, friends, and fun. And the reality is we're all trying to balance all of these things all of the time. And sometimes we tend to focus more in 1 or 2 areas and the others suffer. Sometimes we're not putting enough effort into an area, and that creates the possibility, the potential for a crisis down the road in another area. So for instance, if you're not taking care of your health, that can become a financial crisis, 2, 3 years down the road. If you are putting all your time and effort into your business, but not taking care of things with your family, that can become a family crisis down the road. And so all of these things really make up the human existence, if you will. And one of the most that people neglect is fun. We go throughout our life every day and trying to be intentional about finding the beauty in the day, finding a way to enjoy it, embracing gratitude around that it's a powerful way to kind of have this perspective about life. You know.
I love that what you've just touched upon there. It's having that gratitude section is to is I look at it as acknowledgement as well, because a lot of times we don't acknowledge how far we've come or what we've achieved.
Mm,
We are always looking at how far we got to go and what we have not achieved, and we forget to look at, well, where we are now and how did we get here, right? There has to be successes behind it to get you where you are, and gratitude just reminds us that every time. You don't have to have a war and peace gratitude. Simple as I woke up this morning and I had my coffee, for example. Is already an abundance of gratitude there, right? Because there might be some people who didn't get that chance, right? So we don't know. And you've gotten up, right? So that's already there, and it's a lot of people tend to just forget to be thankful for what is happening, right? I'm not saying that, oh, be thankful for all the bad things as well, but when there is a downtime in terms of the things that are not going your way, you just need to think of, okay, why the things are not going my way, or what is this teaching me now, and where can I, maybe it's a moment to pivot. Maybe I have taken a wrong turn and not supposed to be here. So let's get out of this room. Let's get off this path, make a U-turn if I need to, 360 something, whatever you need to do. This is time to figure things out. And it's a bit more like video games. If people who do play those, you come across a challenge when you need to level up. You do not level up without succeeding that challenge. And that is usually a time to pivot, learn a new skill to defeat the object that is there or overcome it. And you can only do that by overcoming your own fear of pivoting and comfort zones, right?
Yeah.
This brings me to your journey. Obviously, you've chosen this path to become an ULA coach. So how did that came about? And you're still continuing it? What's driving you to do it?
Yeah. So after we moved from the East Coast of the U.S. to more towards the West Coast of the U.S., there was a lot during that transition leading up to it that that relied on us being intentional with what we were doing. So the the job that I had lined up fell through the week before we moved out. The home that we had lived in for 14 years and was on the market to sell, the buyers that were set to buy that home, their financing fell through 2 weeks before we moved out. And so there was a lot of, okay, are we going to jump in and really do this? And the reality is we needed to. We were at a place where, like you said, it had to be a pivot of some sort. And we knew that when we were here in Phoenix visiting family and so forth, that she felt better. And so it was just one of those things that it lined up for us to come out. So a couple of years, I would say, after we moved, maybe a year and a half to 2 years after we moved, I ran across their book. I'd heard, the ULA guys are talking at this conference and the ULA guys are doing this, and I had no idea who they were. And so I picked up their book. I thought, well, I'm curious what this is all about. It's a really fantastic book. It was the first one that they wrote, ULA, Find Balance in an Unbalanced World. And I picked it up and I thought, man, this is a great book. And then I do what so many of us and myself have done so many times, and that's that you put the book down and you just leave it alone. And I didn't apply any of the principles that were in the book. I just looked at it as a narrative. Yes, it's nonfiction, but as a narrative of their life and how they've been choosing to live their life. And I thought, wow, that's fantastic. High five. And then I put the book down. And about 6 months later, toward the end of the year, I was doing a retrospective. And this is an important point, going back to what you'd said earlier about finding gratitude and being grateful. And when you go back and you do kind of this retrospective of looking at my wins, looking at my losses, it's so important to find the lesson learned in those losses, because otherwise history repeats itself and bad habits repeat themselves, or whatever the situation may be. And no, sometimes the circumstances are dealt to us. We don't choose them. But even in that, what is the lesson that I can take away from it to become better, to become more, to do better things with more people, right? So it was at the last part of that year, and I thought, I was going through this retrospective on my own, and I thought, I should probably read that book again. And so I picked it up again. I read it. That was December. It was the last couple of days in December. And so I read it, and in the back of the book, there is actually a little guide for the basics of how to apply the ULA principles to your life. And so I started working through that for the first time. And there was a day planner that they have, and I downloaded that and I started working through that. And then I kept, hearing them talk about, we have this coaching program, if you have a heart to help people. And, you'd like to use these principles to do that, then hop on a call and let's see if it's a good fit. So it was, it was one step and another step and another step, and all of it just brought me back to these principles are amazing. They're affecting my life, and I think it's important that more people hear about them. And then kind of the hook, line, and sinker, if you will, was at that time, they started talking about their new mission, the new mission of ULA, and that is to have a positive impact on 1 billion lives in the next 7 years. And it was just a mission statement that touched my heart and something that I gravitated to. And at that point, I said, okay, let's see what this whole thing is about, really. And I hopped on a call with one of the discovery coaches, Danielle McDurphy. She is amazing. And when I hopped on that call, I did it with all of my pretenses already loaded, right? My walls and defenses were up because so many coaching programs, their business model is to certify as many coaches as possible because their revenue comes from certifying coaches. And so I thought, this is probably how that's going to go. And so I hopped on the call, and it became very, very clear very, very soon, about 30 seconds in, that I was not interviewing Danielle. She was interviewing me. And there are coaches that they say, thanks for looking at this. It's really not a good fit. We wish you well with what you're doing. And it was just how the whole thing came about, the level of impact that they're doing, and as a coach that I can have with these principles is, it's humbling, honestly. It's pretty awesome.
Well, it's amazing to hear that journey of you pivoting, and then as a lot of us do, we read something and we're like, wow, this is great, and I should follow this, but then you just put it down and you just get on with what you were doing, and also when you pick it up the next time or as a second read now, because now you're intentionally reading it, I'm sure it was different. Everything kind of gave you a different meaning, right? And I love that, and I always say to everybody as well, if you have come across something that sparked something the first time, try to read it again with an intention of understanding it now, and you will see that your brain, your mind will now start picking up and making sense of things that you are trying to look for. Before, you weren't looking for it; you were just reading it as a spectator, like, oh, let's spectate this book.
Yes.
It's a journey of the journey of this person. Let's see what it is, and it's great. But now you pivot and you're like, okay, no, I need to see how they did this. Am I able to do this? And with that mindset, you've already told your mind to look for solutions from me in this book, and before you know it, it'll be popping up in front of you, and these are the answers that you need to do. You mentioned there was a step-by-step planner as well at the end of the book, and I know you've got a free planner as well that you also give away, which is available from your bio on WhatsApp, so on this Instagram, right?
Yeah, that's right. I'll have the link in my bio for that. And it's a 20-page guide, and it's basically just kind of how to look at this year, 2022, intentionally in all of these key areas of life: fitness, finance, family, field, faith, friends, and fun. We do that with the perspective of the accelerators and the blockers that get into, the accelerators of gratitude and love and humility and integrity, passion, wisdom, and using those to work through the blockers like fear and guilt and anger, self-sabotage, envy, laziness, all these things that really keep us from moving our life forward. And so, yeah, it's just a PDF that somebody can download and just try and apply this to their life. There is also, with the digital platform, it's a 30-day money-back guarantee. And so, if anybody wants to try that, they can hop on, they can try it for 30 days. If they don't like it, you get your money back. But it's another beautiful way to apply these principles actively in your life. And I think that's something that ULA does better than any other personal development program that I've taken, and there are some incredible programs out there, but it's kind of the same thing that I did with the book the first time. If you go to the seminars, you go to the events, you take the courses, if you will, and you get home from the big hoopla, ray, ray, rah, rah, and a week later, your notes are lost under a pile of laundry somewhere. And 2 weeks later, it just became something that you went to and not something that you're applying. And so with the digital framework, it takes all these principles and then puts it very, very neatly in a dashboard on your computer, in a mobile app that you can literally track your daily steps. And going back to what you said before about finding the gratitude in the progress that you've made, one of the best ways to do that is baby steps. We look at where we are today and we think, I really, really want to go and move my life forward in this direction. But what happens? Fear gets in the way. And I think, gosh, I don't know that I can do that, or self-sabotage. And little baby steps, 3 baby steps a day is over 1,000 steps in a year. And when was the last time any of us took 1,000 steps in a year? And so having this in an app form is a great way to have in your pocket the things that help to keep you accountable to the vision that you have for your life. So it's another beautiful, beautiful way to do that.
I love this. I love this. And having the app in your pocket is much more accessible in terms of, we pick up our phones at least 100 times in 2 hours for quite a lot of people, and some even more in that time. So if you are picking up your phone next time, and you are picking up intentionally instead of just scrolling through social media, intentionally to update what you've achieved so far and what your next steps are and everything. So it's already you've taken your steps towards success already in my eyes, and then you're heading there. I mean, I have quite a lot of fears in terms of, as everybody has, if you've not done those things before, and you're like, oh, should I do this? Should I not do this? How, and overcoming them is difficult in terms of challenging if you have sabotaging self-beliefs in terms of, you even though you are a very confident person and you think, but you've been hearing a lot of stuff from other people, you're like, okay, it's not going to work for me because that person also failed, and so
Right.
why should I do it? That person is already scared. So I went to Dubai last week to do skydiving. It's
Wow.
one of the things on my list to do. I don't create a lot of lists, but this was one of the things on my list that I needed to do. I'm not scared of quite heights or anything, but it was, you are jumping out of a plane, so
Right.
it's crazy, right? So it took me a few years. A lot of people, telling different things, but for the past year and a half, I've been intentionally telling myself everything that if that's what you did and that's your experience, I want to experience it as well. But I might have a different experience than what you had, because you experienced it with your mindset. I want to experience it with my mindset of I can overcome it. And if I've signed up to it and everything, yeah, when I was telling people that I'm going to be doing this, and I kept it quiet until the last week. So, I don't get bombarded with negativity and everything. You're like, oh,
Right.
you sure? Even though they mean well, so I still got a few people who were like, are you sure? You got to be doing this? You got to jump out of the plane? Oh my God, you're brave. Like, because those kind of comments as well put you down in a way of, make you think, oh, am I, shall I? No. So I was like, okay. Every time I heard that, I just said to myself, well, I have a guy tied behind me. So if I go, if he does that every day, So,
Right.
you know, you know, if he's not going to go down, he needs to save his life. And if he's going to save himself, he's going to save me in the process of it because I'm tied to him. So, I've just said that to him. So anybody who questions me, like, you sure you want to do this? And I'm like, what? Then I was like, what will go wrong? The guy who's doing this does that 10 times a day, and I will be and I will be tied to him. So yeah, we take the plane every day. Do you think that are you thinking of anything gonna happen to your plane? You trusted the pilot to take you to your location.
Right.
So it's the same thing. I'm trusting the pilot to take us up, and then I'm trusting this pilot to bring me down, right? So that's
I
it,
love
done.
that.
So what I worked out is to simplify a lot of stuff rather than overcomplicating it. And this is
Mm,
where the fear comes in. This is where the self-sabotaging comes in, because we are overcomplicating everything. If you just simplify it to everything, when we were growing up, everything was very simple for us, right? We just wanted to play around, touch things, pick up them, break things if we could, or just go out and play and just come home for dinner. Things were simple, right? They still are. You're still able to do what you want to do, but we tend to just overcomplicate it. Is this possible? Are we going to be doing this? What will happen if I do this? We never thought of those things when we were younger. This all
right.
came after. People say, "Oh, responsibility came along, and that's why I'm doing this." Well, yeah, responsibilities are there, but how are you going to manage those possibilities? That's all up to us, right?
That's so true. I think that part of part of not being able to move through fear is just the first step. And so in ULA, we have a process just called Ready, Set, Go. And you talk about simplifying how to move through something or to get past something. And so we coach people through this process, and it's just a very simple process, but it works so effectively because you take one step. And once you've taken one step, you're telling your brain it's possible to take another step because I just achieved the first one. And so we have, if you look at whatever it is that you are fearful of, so the first step is just call it out and define it, and that takes self-awareness. Sometimes it takes possibly admitting something to yourself sometimes, but literally just call out what it is that that's holding you back or that you're afraid of. And then set is to ask yourself, what would my life look like if I moved past this thing, and what would my life look like if I don't? And having those two compare contrast in your mind, it's this, gosh, yeah, I'm scared to do it, but look at what will happen if I don't move past this, and look at what the potential is if I do. And then ready, set, go is 20 seconds of courage. Like literally just take 20 seconds and what's the first thing you can do? So for example, if you want to go to the gym, but you're afraid to go to the gym for whatever reason, maybe the 20 seconds of courage is like just mapping out your route to the gym so that that's out of the way. Maybe your 20 seconds of courage, if you're in the car already, is just to drive by and look at it. Maybe your 20 seconds of courage, if you don't know where the gyms are, is to pull your phone out and look them up. But it's simple, just a simple little, what's the next thing that you can do? What's the first step? And once you do that, something simple, it takes you 20 seconds to do, then all of a sudden, oh, I can take a baby step, and I can actually move towards where I want to go.
I love that ready, set, go, taking those baby steps, because yeah, every time people, we as humans, we just complicate things, and we just don't take that first step,
Mm-hmm.
to progress. And as you said, looking up on the phone where the gyms are in your area is already a first step forward to for that, right? Um,
Yeah.
so people are able to reach out to you as well if they needed to ask you any questions. Do you have? I know you also provide coaching programs as well. So if you wanted
That's
to
right.
touch elaborate a little bit more onto it, what you are offering.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and what I'll do is I'll keep my website in my bio, and when you click on my website, just scroll up the page a little bit, and the free planner is the pop-up that is there. So anybody can download that planner. But yeah, so I offer personal one-on-one coaching through the ULA process. We also have what's called a Green Gap coaching. And Green Gap is the finance piece, the finance F of ULA, if you will. That is getting debt-free, investing for your future, and having fun along the way. And there's a very specific structure around how to do that. So I coach people one-on-one through ULA. I coach people through the Green Gap principles. And then we have the digital program as well. If somebody just wants to do it at, on their own pace at their own time, they can do that through the app and the digital platform. And those are the three main areas that I coach people through. It's been extremely fulfilling to see the results that people are getting with the ULA process. And I love that it's not a secret, it's a system. And if you apply the system, apply that blueprint, if you will, then things will change. It's just a matter of time. So my website is in my bio. You can also message me directly, but it's wayfindersforlife.com. So.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you for sharing all that. It's great to hear your journey and how you've pivoted your life, or also realized and became self-aware of what was needed to actually live the life that was meant for you to be lived, right? Rather than just being on a default mode, everything is just happening as you are moving along. It's like being on a conveyor belt. You're just going through, and whatever
Yes.
whatever is happening, it will happen. That's how I see things, right? Whether you can be just moving at your pace. If you want to move fast, you move fast. If you want to slow down, slow down. If you want to be at normal speed, just be at your own pace, right? And
That's right.
And create the things that you want to see happen in your life. We are always creating things since we are born anyway. That's supposed to happen. But at one time, somewhere in life, we pivot to being default, and then we stop creating the things we were supposed to create for ourselves. And ULA sounds very interesting. That is guiding people to do that. I would recommend 100% to it's got me interested in that. A few names popped up that I will forward your page to.
Thank you.
And so they will definitely, hopefully they will check it out, and I'm sure I will tell them to go and download the planner. Definitely. It's something I will download now myself as well to see if I can work with it. But yeah, first thing I wanted to ask, do you have a ritual or a routine that you follow, when you wake up or before going to bed? Is that something you want to share?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. So the first thing I do when I get out of bed, I brush my teeth, and I go to the kitchen and I fill up this water bottle. You can see that it's 24 ounces, I think, something like that. I fill that up with good clean water. I'll either add some minerals to it. There's some probiotics sometimes I'll add to it, essential oils I'll add to it, and I guzzle it. That's the first thing that I do. We lose so much moisture during our sleep, just sweating it out and so forth, that it's really, really important to start your day hydrated. And so that's the absolute first thing that I do. The ritual at the end of the day is to look over. So in ULA, as we're coaching people through this process or through the digital platform, is you create very specific structured goals in all of these 7 key areas of life. And so you kind of narrow that down to your top 7. And it doesn't have to be one from each area, but your top 7 goals. And then narrow that down to your ULA 1, which is the one thing that if you accomplished in the next 365 days would absolutely change your life. And that's your ULA 1. And so at the end of the day, I go through and I look at my top 7 goals, and I map out what are the 3 or more steps I'm going to take tomorrow to move me towards any one of those goals. And again, they don't have to be, world-changing steps tomorrow. It could just be a baby step. It could just be looking up the gym on Google to see where it is. But it does take being intentional with how you're doing that. Intention and consistency, when you wrap that around things like gratitude, the other accelerators, will absolutely move your life forward. So first thing is I hydrate. and the last thing is I look at those top 7 goals and I decide, what am I going to do tomorrow? That's not picking up, the kids from school, and it's not, mowing the grass, and it's not doing the laundry. It's what 3 or more steps am I going to take towards those 7 goals?
I love that, and thank you for sharing this. And something I have also been following is first thing when you wake up. I have a glass of water next to me, so first thing I do is to drink the water, because as you're right, I mean, we sweat and you're feeling thirsty and all that, so it's needed there, and having that water bottle with all the minerals and oils and things like that, that's even better. Um, Thank you for sharing that as well. And is there something you want to share with everybody? We should be wrapping this up. So what would you like to say before we finish this?
Sure. Well, before I get to that, I wanted to congratulate you because you just hit a year milestone. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yes.
Congratulations. This platform, this podcast that you have, if the Instagram podcast, it's really gone out to a lot of people. It's really helped a lot of people. So congratulations to you for being consistent and being intentional with your own blueprint to provide this platform for your guests. So I appreciate that very much.
Thank you very much.
The biggest thing, I think I'll go back to what I said at the beginning. Where you are is just where you are. It's not who you are. And somebody out there needs to hear that, because you've either been stuck, not knowing how to move through a transition, or not knowing how to take the next step. And it does not define you. Where you are is just where you are. It's not who you are. And if there's anything I can do to help give you a structure around how to move your life forward, then please reach out and let's talk.
Amazing. Thank you very much, Joel, for your time today and sharing such amazing journey. And there's been lots of golden nuggets in there for everybody who's watching and listening this now, to pick up on and reach out to you if they need to, right? It's for everybody who's listening, and if you had a sparking, a moment of spark in that time, and you thought, oh yeah, this is something I didn't know or I should be doing. Now it's your duty to now share this episode with somebody else as well, because we do not know who's woken up or gone to bed thinking of a better today or tomorrow. And if you had that moment of spark, they might just have it as well. And we'll thank you for it. So it's our duty to share the inspirations, but not to keep it with us. Let everybody know that they can do it too. There is a better tomorrow for them as well. Thank you very much, Joel, for your time. Thank you. And thank you, everybody
It's been my
who was
pleasure.
listening to us. Thank you as well. Everybody else, we'll see you next Tuesday as well with another amazing person and their journey to be shared. Thank you, Joel.
Thank you so much. Take care.
Okay, take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.